And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Soul Citizens. I am GriffinGamingRPG, and welcome back. We are sorry we're late. It was my fault. Fastcart was here early, and I don't know where I was, Fastcart. I was in another place. I was hanging out with some other cool Soul Citizen, Star Citizen backers, and my alarm went off at 10:25, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be gone by now. And so
you have other cool friends other than me?
Yes, other than you, but I know it's hard to believe, but I do have some other friends other than you. So hello, everyone.
It's fun you have other friends, cool friends. That's the adjective.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Dark Knight, I know. Dark Knight, do me a favor. This is our first week back after being gone for 2 weeks. How is our audio? Are we sounding pretty balanced? Am I louder than Fastcart? Fastcart louder than me? Are we at a good level? Just give me a yes if everything is cool. We sound good so far.
So good.
Awesome. Okay. Well, it's good to be back. As you guys know, D Billings, good to see you. Fastcart's low. Okay, let me give him a boost. Say something, Fastcart.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
How's
this
that?
Is a Super Bowl pre-show. Welcome to this game show.
Is that better? Does he sound a little bit better there, Billings? Perfect. Awesome.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, we've been gone for 2 weeks, as you guys know, and we took a little hiatus. We took a break. When we left Fastcart, what episode show were we on? Was it episode 45? I think it was the last episode we cut.
So.
Yeah, so we had, yep. Thanks, D Billings.
45.
Yeah, 45. So we have been done 45 shows, almost a year's worth of shows, without a real break. And so, as you guys know, overall audio is low. Jade, really? Wow. I've got everything on my end maxed out, Jade. So I'm gonna boost one more thing, and after this, I can't boost any more. So let me know if that's a little better. How's that? Is that a little bit better? Let's see what Jade says. If Jade says we're good, then that means the world is wonderful. She says yes. Awesome. Even though Fastcart's blowing my ears out now.
Lower me on. You can't lower me on.
No, I got it. Well, I can actually. I just have to go into my crazy software and drop my headphone volume, which I'm going to do while we're talking. But anyway, guys, I'm Griffin Gaming. As you guys know, this is Fastcart, and as I said, we've been gone for a couple weeks. As you guys know, CIG also goes on their hiatus during the first part of January, and so we kind of took that as an opportunity for our folks to kind of take a breather, get a break, kind of come off the holidays, and just basically chill for a couple weeks. But as you also know, CIG returned, and in their return, they've already started dropping some really cool stuff about Star Citizen. And so for us, we're gonna have to try to pick up on some of that tonight.
By the way, they picked up sooner this year than the normal.
They did.
Years.
They did.
Normally they do like the last week of January or the first week of February. They were like 2 weeks before January ended this time.
Yeah.
So.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I kind of planned our break to be the way it was, so that we would be just coming back a week after they came back, but they actually came back 2 weeks ahead. Yeah, Jade, you're right. I was surprised too. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice that they've kind of jumped back into the wagon.
Yeah, exactly.
But it definitely, for us, is going to give us a tough night, because now Fastcart and I have to cover 3 weeks of shows tonight.
We don't have to, but we will.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, but there's so much good stuff that was shared. So we are going to, as always, encourage you guys to join us. As you guys know, this show is a community talk show. On Sundays, you get to hear the Soul Citizen team. You get to hear us be the talking heads and give our opinions. But our Friday night show is the night where we invite you guys to come on the show and be with us. And so that's what this night is about. So even though we'll be talking, if there's something that sparks your interest, if there's something that you see on the show tonight that, you know, really you feel like you've got something to say about it, you know, good, bad, ugly, whatever the case is, then we would love to have you come on board with us, and we'll have you come in and join with us. Okay. Right now we've got a guest already stepping in, and we're gonna we haven't even got started yet, but evidently this guest is ready to go and talk about some stuff, chomping at the bit. So why don't we go ahead and bring GoMab in with us? And I hope I said your name right. GoMab, did I say your name right?
You did.
Awesome. Welcome to Friday Night Live. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Glad you guys are back, man.
Good. Well, thank you.
Guys.
Thank you. We missed our people. You know, it's nice to get a break, but did you realize that, you know, Friday night comes along and it's like, man, I feel like I should be doing something, you know?
Yes, exactly.
So,
you're not lying.
Yeah, so it was, even though the break was nice, you know, it's also nice to be able to connect with you guys in the community as always. You know, Star Citizens community is great. So tell us, hey, what's on your mind, man? What's going on? Tell us, give us your updates.
Well, you know, man, it's been a minute since I've been on the show, but they've got me. I've spent quite a bit more on some ships.
Oh, really?
Picked up an MSR and a couple other things. You know, I've been enjoying the game, definitely.
Good.
You know, I had to get off the trading, man. It was just giving me PTSD with 30Ks and whatnot. But I definitely enjoyed enjoyed the bounty hunting and the 312-1 PTU. I played that a lot with some friends, and
nice.
that was really cool to see those events and to give a kind of a peek into what's coming. Right.
Yep.
I'm really excited to see what's going to be rolling out in the future here.
That's cool. What ships did you get? You said you picked up MSR. Was there something else you got?
Oh, of course, I got a couple of nomads just for the LTI tokens.
Okay.
Did that. I did some shuffling, right, to make sure that all my ships have LTI on them because, you know, some of them
Mm-hmm.
You know, I made sure everything had LTI on it. So right now I got you know, I'm not like you guys, but I got a decent little about 8 ships. You know, I can cover you know, I can pretty much cover all the roles.
Depending on the ship, you can get concierge with just 8 ships, you know.
That's very true.
I've got concierge, yeah.
Oh, see, okay. See, there you go. And by the way, you might be surprised at finding out like who has what ships amongst the Soul Citizens team. We've got some people that just have 2 or 3, 4 ships, and then we've got some people that have fleets. And it's kind of on purpose because everybody, depending on how they balance that out, you know, plays the game a little bit differently, right? So believe me, 8 ships is a lot for a lot of people, especially you remember just a few weeks ago they implemented the insurance. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And think about the people who had maybe 1 or 2 ships, and when their ship got blown up, right? They are like, what do I do now, right? So if you've got 8 ships, that's a good balance. What's your favorite ship that you've got so far? The one that you like the most?
You know, man, I've been enjoying more and more the what I call the F-150 of the verse, man, and that's the Cuddy Black.
Okay.
You know, I tend to jump in it if I got someplace to go. I want to do something. I jump in it more than I jump in any other ship. But I got a Caterpillar that I was using for trading.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the MSR is fun. It's fun to fly.
Mm-hmm.
I got a Saber that I like to go and, you know, shoot stuff with. And so that's usually, you know, but the Cuddy, it seems to be like I can pretty much do anything in the game on some level in that ship. Yep. Other than mine. And of course I got a Prospector as well, and a Rock, and I think I got one of the bikes. That's what I got right now.
Okay.
You said F-150. I was like, is that a freelancer? What? What is that?
It's just the workman's truck. You know, it's like, look, man, you put it to work. You can do whatever you need to with it. You know, it's not fancy. It just gets you where you need to go, and it's fairly quick. You know, it's not the fastest. It's not the flashiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a worker.
Well, GoMab, take into consideration you're talking to a guy who lives on the East Coast in Boston, so he's not into the whole pickup truck thing. That's why he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, I have an F-150 in my garage, so
there you go. There you go.
I went to Texas for CitizenCon 2018. All I saw was F-150 everywhere. It was like I went to Walmart to pick up something. And like F-150 go by. It's like, is that the same one?
Yeah.
What?
You did something weird. Fastcart, I don't know what happened, if your hydraulics went up or what, but your head is chopped off if you look at the picture.
No, I saw it happen on the stream. I thought you did something.
No, you...
I haven't changed.
Well, something changed because it wasn't me. I can't make you bigger.
It wasn't me.
Well, you know what? I don't want to see you look like you have a lobotomy. No. That's different. I'm resizing, but the chopping off is another thing. I'm going to get rid of Fastcart for a second, guys, and put him back because I don't want him looking like he had a lobotomy. No, I don't want you to have like a lobotomy on the show. So we're gonna make sure that you look better than that. GoMab, are you excited about the Xeno stuff, or are you ready to dabble in that, or are you holding out from it?
All right. The event is cool. I haven't played since I was getting griefed as soon as I jumped into the into the missions. You know, you jump in straight from the base, and there was somebody sitting there, 3 or 4 ships sitting there, and you just blow up immediately, and there was no repercussions. But I know they patched that out, or they at least put in crime stats for that stuff. So, but I haven't had an opportunity to play since then.
Okay.
But I like the concept of it. You know, fighting those big ships and coordinating with people and doing that. That was cool. So I'm excited to see. You know, I'm glad they learned that lesson. Like, oh, we just can't leave this as unmonitored space because kids will be kids and. Yep. Somebody's going to start griefing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to jump into talking about that a little bit tonight. So GoMab, you're welcome to hang out with us. We're going to kind of go back, though, 3 weeks and just do a quick overview. We're going to look at the ISCs. I think 2 of them are like 10 minutes. One of them's like 15 minutes. And we're going to talk about those a little bit. We're going to just kind of do an overview of the SCLs, though. As you guys know, Star Citizen Live is an hour long, and there were 3 of them, and there's no way we're going to look at 3 of them tonight. But we are going to look at the ISCs tonight.
We can do a 5-hour show.
Yeah, nope. Our good friends at Yacht Club have that stamina. I do not have that stamina. That is not happening. In fact, they actually, this week, it was really interesting. They curbed their time down. That now they're going to keep their show under somewhere like 2 hours and 45 minutes is what they're shooting for, because they're trying to be conscious of the fact that even though most of them are West Coast, they've got a lot of East Coast viewers, so it becomes a very late night for them. But it was really good. They had it scheduled down. They had a timer. It was done very well. The STEM Citizen over there, his technical prowess is great. He did a really, really good job with that. Him and T Nightster, they did a really good job with that. Late night down here in Atlanta. Yeah, D Billings, it is 10:30 my time. You're East Coast, and so is fastcart. So we got you guys up late on a Friday night. But let's jump into it. Yeah, you are doing something. You were doing something. I remember you were doing something. Let's jump over here to our big screen and make us little. And hopefully this thing is going to work right. I tried to plan some things out here. Let's see if this will work. This is going to be
cut off again, but that's fine because I have a lobotomy.
Oh no, that's because it's the other one from before. So just kind of bear with me. All right, should I fix fastcart, you guys? I should fix him, right? Because we can't leave fastcart looking like he has a lobotomy. That is not cool. And people be like, Griff sitting there making him look like he's got a lobotomy. I don't want to make him look like that. So let me go back to our main one. And you guys forgive us. I know it's our first week back, and this was a rough day for me, gang. It was a rough day for me.
This is just proof of how empty my head is. So you just confirming that.
No, you're not. Do not have an empty head. There he is in all his glory. All right, we got him back. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the ISC. This is from 2 weeks ago, if I'm remembering correctly, gang. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So let's take a look at this one.
In Star Citizen, we have many of these huge, intricate planets, and the way that we've been able to do that is, instead of storing each vertex of the planet like you would in a traditional level editor, we store height maps and other data about the planet, and then build chunks of the planet around.
Uber Nerd, thank you for the raid.
Uber Nerd with the raid, oh my god. Thank you, Uber Nerd. You the man as always. Uber Word. Thanks, buddy.
So the terrain modification system works by placing modifiers across.
Hey, nerds.
People coming in, we're watching the Star Citizen, Inside Star Citizen from 3 weeks ago. We just started.
That modifier applies a function to the Z coordinate of that vertex to offset it to a specific place that we choose. So, for example, we've got here a smoothing area. We can move this around. We can see that it is smoothing out the ground. We can raise it or lower it. We can change its size and so on. And here I've got a crater which we could flip and turn into a push-pull. We can change the scale and so on. And that's all happening by intercepting the mesh building system and applying offsets based on a function to each vertex within that box. We can use this on any scale we like. So from a very small scale like this to a much bigger scale like this over here. So if I decide I want to place my outpost over here, the first thing I do is I put a smoothing area down. I integrate that into the terrain so that it looks good. I can play with all the different settings to tweak the roll-off and the radius of the smoothing area. And then I can go in and I can put my outpost down. And we can see that that's come in very flat, there's no clipping with the terrain, and it all looks very natural and embedded instead of kind of like terrain clipping over the sides of the landing pads. So we can integrate our smoothing areas even more in with the terrain by using a noisy edge instead of just having a perfectly spherical one. So this smoothing area here has a noise function applied to its radius, so we get this kind of like crinkly effect. And when I embed that into the ground, we don't see an obvious circle around where our outpost is. Instead, we get more natural looking crinkle around the edge of our smoothing area. The reason that we have both of these modifiers is sometimes you want to make it clear that humanity has come and shaped the terrain to be a certain way, and sometimes you just want the convenience of flat ground without it looking like it's been bulldozed by a great big group of JCBs. So using the same modification system, we can actually add water meshes to the vertexes. The first thing I did on this was a way to place river paths, because you can't start modifying the terrain before you know where the water's going to flow. So I've got this river placement tool here, where we're going to be able to essentially start off by placing a spring or somewhere where the water might come out of the ground. So I'm going to place that here. And you can see that it automatically starts working out the path of where the water would flow. Now it does this in steps. It looks at the direction that the water is coming from. It takes a step in that direction and works out an arc of points. And then it chooses the point on that arc that is the lowest, moves there, and then continues on to the next step until you get this nice flowing path. Now over here we've got a white dot, and that is because the lowest point on the arc was in fact higher than the water started with. And if you look at a river, you'll notice water doesn't travel up. So here the point is white because we're going to have to erode down the path under here for the water to have travelled to this point. We can't have it flow up on the terrain. So once we're happy with our river path, we can look at adding any contributing springs. So for example, we might have a bit more water flow coming from there, or I might choose to have a bit more water flow coming from there. And then we can score and clean the rivers.
I can't wait for them to implement yacht racing.
A detailed path between the nodes that the river's going to take. And it also works out how much water is going to be passing through each point. So you see, if I click on this node here, we can see the size is 5. If I go a little bit downstream, where there's going to be more rainwater collecting into the stream, the size is 17, and that will increase all the way down to the bottom where the river ends. Once we're happy with the river system as a whole, we can place the geometry modifiers. Now the first thing this is going to do is we've placed some brown decals down to show that the terrain has changed, and we've actually modified the terrain to show the path of the river. As you can see, if I just turn these off, as you can see, we've got a deep trench where the river is flowing and then banks around the river. But usually rivers have water, so let's add in some water. Now obviously this is work in progress, this is just using the sea mesh, but it just to prove the concept that we can have water in the basis of our rivers. But it still doesn't look quite right. If you look at a river in the wild going through any ecosystem, whether it be a forest or some fields or a desert, you'll notice that the terrain around it is different, and that's because the water influences the ecosystem. We get more vegetation and growth around places where there are water. So in order to make this look as convincing as possible, we're going to experiment with adding more foliage and more ecosystem changes around the rivers. So this is just a programmer's take on this, and no artists have had any say in
GG and Dark Knight Jinx.
So by borrowing a slightly more lush preset from a different planet, we can see that we can create this really effective look around the rivers with far more trees and ground cover, just to really sell the idea that this is a river that has been here for thousands of years and is flowing through the hills of Microtech. So now that we've added in this ecosystem around the river, it really sells and looks like a river flowing through the hills of Microtech. This looks much more like something that's been here for thousands of years, instead of just a bit of water that's trickling down some hills. Obviously, when the artists take a pass at this, they'll be able to get some much more suitable foliage and vegetation, instead of having this awkward merge between snowy trees and beautiful lush foliage. But the fact that we've got the tools to do this, and we can do it procedurally just with a few clicks, means that these rivers could be cropping up soon on the planets. As a reminder, this is a working prototype, not a finished product, and these are all engineer art choices rather than artist art choices. I can imagine someone screaming at me for the fact that we've got some beautiful kind of tropical trees here versus some snowy pines in the backdrop. But the fact that we can modify the ecosystem around these rivers means that we're going to be able to create some really convincing looking ecosystems.
I'm going to stop right there. Go Mab, I just want to get some feedback from you. We're going to be doing a show in 2 weeks called A River Runs Through It. We're going to be talking about this whole thing about what does it mean by water being brought into Star Citizen and buoyancy and all that other good stuff. But just from an initial thing, Go Mab, what did you think when you first saw this? Because I didn't expect to see this thing with rivers. It kind of came out of nowhere. What about you?
Sorry, say again. I was
That's okay.
I had to mute Twitch and undeafen Discord.
No, I was just saying that this whole thing on rivers kind of came out of nowhere. It was unexpected. I didn't know this would be something that CIG would be working on. I knew they had been working on buoyancy, but this really kind of caught me off guard. What did you think about what you saw?
You know, I don't want to go on my normal rants, but no, it is really cool. You know, the world building that they're doing here. Mm-hmm. They're really flexing their design chops on the graphical side, and you know, I appreciate that. They, you know, it's bringing a lot of, you know, realism to the game, and you know, and really pushing the boundaries where, you know, a lot of other, you know, titles would just they'll just create it, you know, inorganically, right? They're making these be more organic and bespoke, so to speak, with this stuff. So, you know, I can really appreciate what they're doing there.
Okay. Hey, Gigi just dropped in. Hey, G.
Hello.
Hey, were you just hanging out, or was there something you wanted to share?
Oh, you know, I was watching, of course, about the rivers, and I'm actually I'm excited for what it could mean for homesteading. Because having access to water means access to growing food, means access to your own, you know, water source, your own fresh water source, the ability probably to bottle and sell water, and a lot of other things that you can't do without H2O as a human being. You know what I mean? That's going to be a big deal for people who want to be out and about on their own, off in the middle of nowhere, who want to live off the grid.
Yeah, that's true.
I saw Gigi come in, and I was hoping that she was going to start. I was hoping that she was going to start singing TLC for us, but not to be.
Well, let me say this too, guys, and I just mentioned a few seconds ago. I think Moab may not have heard me, but Gobab may not have heard me, but Gigi, in 3 weeks, we're going to be doing a show called A River Runs Through It, where we're going to be talking about the impact of what it means, that, because I think, Gomab, you mentioned a real good point. This isn't just something that's cosmetic, you know, they're looking at how this is actually going to have something to do with the game. And Gigi's going to be on that show, hosting that show, in fact, where we're going to be talking about what is that impact of water, beyond just having ships that float. You know, I think that for me, you guys know me and the yachts, you know, I want to be able to make my yacht, but I think it is much bigger. I know it is much bigger than that. You know, it is much bigger than that. Okay, let's see what else they got on this here. Let's keep going, keep rolling.
Modification tool is just one more way the Planet Tech team continues.
And guys, don't forget, you can join us. You can come into the chat if you and share your thoughts.
Create assets for the Star Citizen universe better and more quickly than ever before. Now, citizens that have been around for a while know that January is planning season, where developers get together, review the lessons of the year before, and plan out their efforts for the one ahead. Now, by the time that this airs, that process is still in full swing for many teams, but we took the opportunity to chat with some of the folks that participated in this year's Combat Summit to get a sense of where their conversations went and check in before they go heads down and the process of prototyping begins.
So the theme of this year's Combat Summit was really how we give the player control over all the systemic features we have in the game.
What we want is an environment where things make sense. that choice allows players to approach different missions in different scenarios in different ways, and even the same scenario in different ways, which really expands the feel and the options players have.
The main reason why we created a combat summit was to include more people from multiple departments of the company that have a stake or an interest in space combat.
It helps like gather outside data into one kind of focus point.
We can kind of figure out the core problems.
Every time I saw this guy, I thought he was civil. I thought, when did Civil start working at CIG? Every time I saw this guy, I thought he was civil.
It's very important to go away and come up with different solutions, test them out, see which ones are fun, see which ones play well with other features.
Since last year's summit was so successful, we're in a good position to go forward into this year's summit.
Building upon the work we did in the last one.
In this year's Combat Summit, we talked a lot about combat geometry, which is how ships fly around each other during combat, how they're going to fight each other.
One of the ways we wanted to improve the current flight model was with the addition of capacitors, which will make the actions players take during a dogfight more meaningful and have more of an impact on what they see and what they do. And capacitors really do that by sort of capping some of the behaviors as well as giving you an instant visual result and instant flight result.
We went into weapons and the different behaviors of weapons and how they interact with shields and ballistic armor.
We're not aiming for like a meta build gameplay, right? We want each weapon to feel different and to have a different role in space combat.
And then to add to this, we're discussing how we kind of move the roles forward on the ships and make the most of the features that we have to, you know, kind of realize the roles on ships and for those to mean more in the PU, you know, as far as what choices you make of what ship you want.
I'm very excited to get some of those sort of ironed out and to get those feelings of those ships so that you know without looking at the label of the ship that you're definitely in something like a light fighter.
We're just focusing on how to make those roles mean more to the player so they can make more meaningful, informed decisions.
So it was a really important discussion on those things, and they all kind of relate to one another, and we have to move them together forward in one kind of, you know, line really, because that gives us the best kind of maneuverability moving forward to understand really the impact of these changes as well.
So now we have a big bunch of work in front of us, right? We have action points, what we want to do. So the next step for us is prototyping.
A big risk when you're prototyping several solutions is the fact that one might not fit with another solution.
What we cannot
Nautic, thanks for the sub.
Thank you, Nautic. Thank you so much.
So when we're testing, it's very important that we're testing all these features together to make sure that we're picking the right solution and that fits together as a package for us.
Now we'll learn more about the resulting new features that arise from the Combat Summit throughout the remainder of this year as they're being developed. So
Jack, can I show you one more thing that I've been messing around with?
Sure, Will, but just don't get me in trouble.
So here I've put together our grenade launcher with a crater modifier just to see what we could do with it.
Oh, Kimmy's gonna love this.
Now when I fire a grenade launcher, we get a nice little dent in the terrain where I fired it. We can essentially go and create some craters. Obviously this is me messing around. This isn't something that's in game, but just something that I've been having a little bit of fun with. Hopefully we'll be able to use something like this in the future, but no promises. This is just a bit of fun.
So what did we learn about this week? Well, we learned the plateaus can be a good thing when they allow designers to place outposts anywhere they want. That a river may run through it, but the next step is to always, always, always replace that programmer art. That each summit builds upon the successes of the last, and that the work of honing Star Citizen's combat experience continues. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
Okay. Gomab is going to do he's cooking his ribs right now, guys. He says they're at 195 and he's trying to get them to 203. So he's doing the nice slow roll on his ribs right now, but he's still in the chat with us. And so is GG and so is fastcart. You know, I had a conversation with some people about this particular episode of ISC, and some people were like, well, what's all this talk they're doing about this combat summit and blah, 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 blah. And I looked into it a little bit deeper, and it kind of I realized how important this was for them to do this, and they did it at the beginning of the year, right when they were going on break. One of the reasons why this is important, we saw the effects of it when they did it last year. Last year was the first time they did it, where what they did was, it wasn't just the people who work on combat and fighting in the game, but they brought everybody, all the departments that have something to do with fighting in, and they basically had a powwow and talked about things that they thought, ideas that would make combat in the game better. And we saw it reflected this last year when we saw how ships now all have their own individual feel when you're flying them. You know, one ship flies heavier than another one, or one is more maneuverable than another one. Before, you used to jump in ships and they all kind of felt the same, but that came out of the summit that they had last year. We saw things like the shield development start to come out of that. We saw a whole lot of things, even with the weapons, that have changed just over the last year. So this summit that they have now is once again tweaking that aspect of the game. I'm not a big combat guy, but I'm sure people who are into combat are pretty fired up because they actually can see the new HUD that came out, the new targeting, chaff, all these things got impacted over the last year because they had that summit. What were you going to say, Fastcart?
I was watching Tony G, and he said that from last year's summit is how they came up with the Xeno threat for this year. So yep. that started last year at the summit also. Out
of that conversation, absolutely. Go Map, we see you're back. Was there something you want to say in relation to that?
No, I was just letting you know I was back.
Okay.
You know, the ribs ain't done yet, so I'm here.
Okay. All right. Gigi, did you have anything before we jump to the next one?
All right. No, you guys go.
We can keep it rolling. Oh wow. Wow, Papa Doc, thank you for the subscription. Thank you so much. Listen, let me while we're in between things, let me tell you, I opened up the show talking about that this was our we did 45 shows last year, and I think we did 18. I can't remember how many of the Friday Night Lives, but our anniversary, our 1-year anniversary is coming up in March. It'll be on March 7th, and we are shooting for a target of 1,000 followers for our anniversary. Right now we have 771 followers, and so we want to encourage folks, if you're not following us and if you're here every week, that means you might like us, so please follow us. Definitely let folks know about us on Friday night. You guys, you've really been supportive of us over this last year, and we really believe that in the next, what is that, month? Less than a month? How many weeks do we have? A month, that we can hit that target. A month and 2 days, we can hit that target of 1,000 followers. And if we hit the target of 1,000 followers, we are going to give away a very, very, very nice ship. We haven't figured out what it's going to be yet. Fastcart, I haven't run the list down to you, but I don't know. Let me, you know what, since we've got folks in the chat right now, maybe I can run some names of ships and then people can tell me what they think we should give away.
Hey, I'm just here to say, and wait, there's more.
And wait, yeah, right. And wait, there's more. Right? Okay, so here are some of the options. These aren't all the options because I've got to.
Mab, you know that is not gonna happen, sir. Griff is not part of his
yeah, not gonna happen.
You have a better shot with another origin ship than the 890.
Well, not the 890. Asking him for his actual car.
let me say this, Go Mab, just so you know, Gigi, your mic is tweaking just a little bit. Go Mab, just so you will know, I actually do have another 890 in my melt. That's all I'm going to say is I do have an 890 in my melt. Okay.
Hey, so closed mouths don't get fed, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So here's.
And the week before the giveaway, I'm quitting Star Citizen so I can into the giveaway.
No, it didn't work that way.
Von Cody Schwartz said, a very nice ship, and Aurora LX.
There you go. Hey, I've got Von Cody. I've got one. I've got two. Okay, so this is what we've got.
A flying brick with pretty curtains.
Yep. This is, oh boy, here we go. All right, here's some of the ships that we've got that might go up for that sale. We've got a Genesis Starliner. We've got an Anvil Valkyrie. We've got a Misk Endeavor base. Let me emphasize that. We've got a Caterpillar. We've got a Retaliator, Starfarer, a Vulcan, an SRV. I'm going down as the prices go down here. You guys already probably have figured that out. We've got a Vulture, a Vulcan, and we even have but we've got a Banu Merchantman. So we're gonna, I don't know, what do you guys think? Is there anything on that list that caught your attention that we should, if we hit the 1,000 mark, that we should give away?
I could use another Endeavor.
A gladiator? Guns and glue, a gladiator, really? Is that what you really want? Okay, well, we'll have to figure it out. I don't know. The Banu Merchantman, Fist to Face says the Banu Merchantman.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be it.
I said Merchantman.
Yeah.
I said Endeavor or Merchantman. That's where I was like.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see. But but that's only if we hit the 1,000 mark. We've got to hit the 1,000 mark.
1,000 followers.
Yeah. So we're.
And we need 200 followers in a month. So y'all got to do some work.
Yeah. Or the Starliner. Yeah, I love the Starliner. I am so anticipating the Starliner.
I like the design of the Starliner, but as far as gameplay, it doesn't do anything for me. But it's a nice looking ship.
It's a lovely looking ship, but I wouldn't use it, so it would be a waste.
You guys are breaking my heart. Okay. All right. So let me listen.
What would you use the Starliner for, Griff?
The Starliner is for flying NPCs around. It's for hiring Gigi to be a stewardess on the ship so that she can serve people. It's got a lot of good purposes. What are you talking about, fastcart? Okay.
I know Gigi has a new video card, but I still expect her to be dropping stuff all over the place, even with the new video card.
Okay. Well, here we.
I'm not gonna drop anything because I'm not gonna be serving anybody anything but knuckle sandwiches and bullets.
There you go. That answers that. Okay.
Yeah, really.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get to the next Star Citizen. No, this is Star Citizen. This is inside ISC. All right, we're gonna, and mind you guys, we had to go back 3 weeks because we've been gone, so we had to come back. So that's why we're kind of doing old shows, but we're catching up. All right, here we go.
Often, logos are the first thing you'll see in an environment, and they help to give the player an impression of what that environment's all about. It might stir emotions. We might have deliberately aggressive looking logos, or maybe they're kind of cute. Having a logo, it kind of helps to bridge that gap between the final object that you buy in game and this narrative brand that we've got going on in the background.
If it's all branded well, I think it adds a lot to the experience for the user. Users are trying to immerse themselves into the world of Star Citizen, so to have a well-developed logo for businesses within the game, companies within the game, gangs within the game, food products in the game, it really helps to make the game seem real.
So you go to really industrial town, we might have a logo that's a bit more kind of bold and blocky and cheaper looking. That helps to reinforce the feel that that environment is not upmarket, it's maybe been done in a rush, or the guy is not particularly up on his style, maybe it's a cheaper establishment, so it helps to give the player an idea of what kind of setting they're in as well.
These logos are, developed the same way as they would if they were designed them for real life businesses. Everywhere you look, there's branding, and people expect that. When it comes to the process of design, we get a great brief describing the product or the logo that we need to design.
So once the artist has given us a selection of logos, the next step in the process is to present that to the directors. And we sit down and we think which of these logos kind of sells the idea of the brand. Does the logo tie into the description that we've got?
Griffin, the video audio is a little bit low.
One of the logos that we're working on at the moment is Voyager Bar. This was interesting because we'd actually started building the environment before we made the logo.
The bar has great detail, the architecture is phenomenal, and so what I did for this logo is I
Is that better, Astro?
The shape of the bar to the logo.
Yeah, it's better for me.
When I come up with a design, I'm trying to come up with a few different ideas. So where we started with Geno's is with the chicken and the chicken's hair, and trying to incorporate fire because it's Geno's hot bird. I'm trying to come up with these little icons, colors.
Yeah, I want some chicken.
Conceptual idea just to see which direction I'm going to go for the logo.
One of the examples is a bit more traditional. It totally works as a brand, but a couple of the other ones have a bit more character because they've got that image of the bird in there.
This was going to be the third concept for Geno's hot bird. I really liked how the G comes around in the beak and the eye. Unfortunately, when I finished it and I was very happy with the logo, my daughter came down and she goes, "Oh, Daddy, I really like that one the best because it looks like the Chick-fil-A logo." And I was like, "Oh God, it does too."
So I said, you know what, we got to scrap this idea. This is not going to work. I don't want my logo to look like any other logo.
I think the one that stood out the most was the one where you've kind of got this stylized bird that's part of the O.
Incorporating that chicken with, you know, the beak going into the S, and I thought, you know what, this is starting to work. This is starting to look like a great idea. So I just kept on doing different variations of this, trying the different fonts, and eventually I came up with this logo that was actually the one that was finally approved.
You kind of got that cartoony look, but it doesn't feel too off-brand. It's not super cute, but it kind of gives you a humorous impression, and it's also quite stylish as well.
In real life, you know, the process is the same for creating logos.
For $2.99, I gotta get some.
Put that much detail and time into each and every logo that we put out there into the game. I want to make sure that my logos are just as good as the level of detail that's inside the game and give the users a great experience.
It's important to get the logos right, because if you're playing the game and you, for example, you spot something that just feels out of place, that really breaks the immersion. That's one of the reasons why we just try and make sure everything's on point quality-wise, and it fits with the world, and it just kind of keeps you immersed in the game and feeling like you're really part of that universe.
Okay. Let's see. FC, let me ask you, what you think about this with the logos, the branding?
I'm hungry now. That's what I'm thinking about. No, I like the process. No, I like the process of the behind the scenes and stuff like that. This interests me. I wish I had the talent for artists and stuff like that, but that's not me. But yeah, it's good behind the scenes. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Gigi, what about you?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, she was drinking. Sorry.
Sorry. I mean, it's.
Share your honest feelings. Tell us how you really feel.
It's nice.
All right.
It looks good, but I wish they would work on gameplay instead of all these little outliers. You know.
No, it's part of the gameplay.
Let her finish.
My bad. I thought you were.
Instead of the little outliers, like, yeah, I know we need food to play, right? Like, I get it. You've instilled the fact that we need to eat to play the game, but you've also put food in, so you don't need to continue making restaurants when there is other things that you could be doing.
Okay.
Like, do important things. I'm over these little nitpicky details. Do big things, please.
Okay. Go, Matt.
And the church said amen. And the church said amen.
I was gonna say it takes a lot of little things to make one big thing. Like the whole our planet doesn't come into happen by
but they're not working on a planet. They're working on a chicken shack. Fastcart. Like, you don't need a chicken shack. We got a burger spot. We got a salad spot. We got all the water places. Do something else. Move on. They get stuff and stuff, and they don't do anything else.
I will say, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matt.
So
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say, I got stuck in that pit of despair as well, Gigi. Where I was like, you guys are giving all this stuff, like, that's great, cool. You're spending a lot of time on rivers, but I just lost $1 million on a 30K, right? It gets real frustrating.
It's like, look, I'm so glad that we can read the serial numbers on the back of each other's armor. Like, look, it's so cool. The details in this game are a part of the game. I get it. But can we work on the game? That would be great. 10 years later, could we work on the game?
Mm-hmm. And they're working on it. They're working on it on the back end. There's different teams, and there's guys that are focused on just this stuff. I had to come to grips with that. It took a lot of bourbon and soul searching, but I had to realize it.
And that is the exact answer, Go Mab. Is that one of the things that hey, Badass Pops, thank you for the follow. Hey, we're getting closer to our followers numbers. That's great. Thank you. One of the things that I had to realize when I was first watching these over the years is I started realizing that there's some of these shows that are in real time, and then there are some of these shows. Glitch Grenmore, thank you for the follow. There's 2 more, GG. We're getting closer. We're going to hit that 1,000. I started realizing that some of these shows are recorded in real time. Some of these shows are about subjects that have happened weeks ago or even months ago. And so it's very hard to tell. For example, much of what they showed us there in the thing there, it's already in game. So it's not stuff that they're currently working on, but they're showing you the process of how they did it. Because branding was something that came up a few years ago. They did a real big show talking about they had over 200 and different branding items and advertising items and all that other stuff. But I do agree. There is this feeling that they aren't working on the game, or there are other things they should be working on. And the reality is that they are working on them. But any game development team has got people that are artists. They've got engineers. They've got all these different people. And while the engineers are working, the artists are still doing their thing too. So
it doesn't take away that it is extremely frustrating to be looking at logos.
Not by any means. But the logos are easier than server meshing, and you can't take the artists that are doing logos and put them on server meshing, because that's not what they do. I get what you're saying. You're right.
It's still, like, it's
frustrating. Yeah. It is. No, believe me, psychologically.
Like, I'm over it.
Well, listen. I mean, like last week, I hadn't had this happen in a long time, but I decided to do a haul of some stuff from the refinery, and I had like 3 loads of stuff. I had a full ship basically of stuff that I was refining, and boom, the crash happened, the 30K, and it was like, wow, about $500,000 gone, and it's frustrating. I mean, those things are frustrating.
I got in yesterday for about an hour. I was like, I'm going to go do some mining. I get in my ship, I take off. I'm like, okay, cool, let's do the thing. I get to Telemar. I am telling you, I was doing my scanning. I find a rock. I'm like, okay, I'm going to mine this rock. The moment I turn my lasers on, the server crashed. I just turned the game off. I just turned it off. You're like, I'm not even willing to fight you tonight, Star Citizen.
I've done that before. I think we all have.
Question.
Yeah.
So without all the logos, how am I gonna know that you can get 2 pieces for $2.99? That's a great deal. How am I gonna know about these great deals?
Well,
answer me that.
Yeah, well, fastcart. First of all, I know you probably don't even eat in the game, so I don't even know you're even worried about it. But again, I think everybody agrees that it looks cool visually. It does make the game look good, and of course, it goes into immersion. I think for me, one of the things that's always stuck out with this, and we're going to get to the next ISC because we don't want to spend too much time here, was that so much of this reminds me of the movie Blade Runner, and that not post-apocalyptic, what's the word they call it? When it's in the future, but dystopian.
Cyberpunk.
Well, not cyberpunk, but this word is DYS something. Thank you, dystopian. Thank you. These dystopian worlds where advertising and marketing is all over the place and it's big. So that's something. Thank you, Astro. Astro, by the way, I saw you say Geno's in the chat. You're not like around like Geno's Pizzeria, are you? Is that what you were talking about? I'm kind of curious if that's what you were talking about. Put it in chat for me if you were. And let's go ahead and look at the rest of this particular episode, because the rest of this stuff's pretty cool.
Seem like a small thing, but in the Star Citizen universe, it's often the smallest details that can add up to create a greater and more immersive experience for everyone. But maybe you're interested in the big things, the giant space whale-sized cargo things that make their way through the universe, traveling to homesteads across the system. Well, we got you covered. Here's this week's Sprint Report. We'll start things off with the Environment Art team as their work on the docking arms necessary to bring ship-to-station docking to life have moved from white box phase to gray box.
Gotcha,
now,
Astro.
One of the key elements they want to maintain are more views in and more views out, including the skylights up above. And then, of course, there's testing of the docking hubs themselves, and the hows and the whens and the wheres to place them along the stations of the Stanton system. So there's enough room to fit some of our larger ships should they need to come in for any reason I'm not mentioning right now. The character art team recently completed a pass on the space whale statue.
Pops in space, thank you for the follow. Thanks, Pops.
Found in Orezen, future landing zone for the upcoming Crusader gas giant. Now the next step will be to integrate it into engine and then determine the proper materials, be it stone,
don't forget everyone, follow and get other people to follow. If we get to 1,000 by the 7th, we will have a lovely giveaway.
A lot. So a small sprint was spent prototyping out some new
7th of March
that provide the player with a little bit of information about where they are and how they got there, and if it's a prison, a little bit about why you're there and what it might take to get you back out. It's a little thing, but like we said before, those little things tend to add up when working to improve the overall player experience. In ship and vehicle news, the EU vehicle feature team has begun work on the interior.
Yes, we do, Astro. If you look in the thing below us in Twitch there, you'll see our information there for our Discord.
Distinct states such as emergency, auxiliary, and default operation. Now you can see here each state in a number of different areas inside the ship. And we're going to let you guess which area of the ship we're showing as we work through these. Suffice to say, the Hercules is making terrific progress, and it won't be long before this massive behemoth makes its debut in the Star Citizen universe.
Thanks, Astro.
The Aegis Redeemer continues its journey through white box phase, as artists and designers rework the interior using modern metrics that have been developed over time since the ship was originally concepted back in 2014. Now, while they continue reworking the interior spaces, they're also working the exterior to ensure the ship maintains its iconic silhouette on the outside. Designers and artists are also roughing out the white box exterior and interior of the Nova tank from Tumbril. Now, this beast is deceptively large and will look to change ground combat forever when it arrives in the persistent universe later this year. But for now, let's enjoy this early look at current progress and dream about all the places you're going to put one where nobody expects it. That's what I'm doing. And to wrap things up this week, let's check in once again with the team working on colonialism-style homesteads. And we have some additional concepting for a variety of add-ons to be found throughout the various encampments, like these cooling stations for enormous server racks, power plants with varying arrays of subcomponents like antenna, piping, displays, ladders, and more, fuel tank arrays with a variety of blockouts altering the way in which they connect with one another as they expand out across the horizon, solar array add-ons for both the power plants we saw before and habitat buildings themselves, refinery units, and finally potential blockouts for combining many of those aspects into outdoor storage yards that will form the basis for a wide variety of NPC and player experiences in the future. Now we'll start learning more about how these homesteads will begin being integrated into the persistent universe in the coming months. So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that in Star Citizen, the smallest details...
Okay, what did we learn this week? I'm going to stop there. Gigi, I'll start with you this time. Did anything in that last part stick out to you that you saw? Or did we lose Gigi? We might have lost Gigi.
Oh, I didn't know you were saying me.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Mostly that the Redeemer looks like crimpers that I had in the 90s.
Those engines, huh? Okay.
Oh boy. Yeah, no. He literally just said, you know, about little things making up big things, and I have to say I rolled my eyes, but okay.
Okay. Go Mab, anything in there strike you that was in that list of things that they showed from the sprint report?
You know, the homesteads, right? You know, those are interesting. I'm for all the folks out there that jumped on and bought those plots of land when they were available. You know, I'm sure seeing that stuff, even though we assume that these homesteads are going to be for NPC and for missions and stuff and not quite player housing quite yet. This will be a big step towards that and the tech that's going to be needed for that. So anything that gets us closer to being able to, you know, plop down and claim our land, say, okay, this is mine, and build some stuff on it. Yeah. You know, I'm all for it.
That's cool. Fastcart, what about you?
The space whales, the docking clamps, something else with that. But yeah, the space whales, the docking clamps, both of the instruments. I mean, I'm especially looking forward to being able to dock bigger ships with the station, because I'm going to have a merchantman that's probably going to be my main ship, and you know, you need some way to dock it to other ships. Like, how are we going to load and offload my stuff? I mean, even though the merchantman does have a landing, not a landing,
the ramp,
but
the ramp
thing. But you know, sometimes that may not be available.
Yeah. I know, like right now, some of the ships, you know, we can't even launch certain ships except for places like Hurston and ArcCorp because of their size and microtech. So it will be nice to be able to bring your ship somewhere and dock it and not have to EVA outside of the ship to get, you know, to wherever it is, and take advantage of the other stations that are in the game. I agree with you guys about the homesteading, because he mentioned about the homesteadings were for both NPC and player usage. And so, as always, we always say that they don't put stuff in the game just for cosmetic sake. We were having a big conversation, and again, I don't want to get into this homes. I'm so tempted to talk about homesteads, but the GG show is coming up on that. But one of the things that they talked about was that when we build bases, we will be able to power them and be able to have shields and have turrets around them. So all those different things you saw, like the solar panels, the refineries, all those things will be working items that you'll be able to utilize for your bases. It's not just that they're there for cosmetics. So you're right, Moab, when you say, GoMap rather, when you say that, you know, this is kind of the first step for moving from NPC to when we're able to actually utilize this stuff for our own, that land that we buy. I think it was Jade. Somebody asked about them about land going on sale. Yeah, Jade, they only put that land on sale, if I'm remembering correctly, once. And it was
I remember twice, but maybe I'm incorrect.
I just remember when the Pioneer came out. If you bought a Pioneer, you got an 8K piece, and you could buy an 8K piece. There was 4x4 or 8x8, and they were 50 bucks for the 4x4, 100 for the 8x8. And a lot of people laughed about it, and then later on, people were like, "Dag, I wish I had bought a land claim." There's a lot of real estate in the universe, so they'll come back up again.
I don't regret it at all. I didn't get either the Pioneer or the land.
I regret it. I regret it. Real estate is always something that is always valuable, and you don't lose money on. So, just to be able to have something to know that you could place would be great later. You know.
My thing is that I didn't have enough information. Like, I didn't know how I was going to be able to defend it. If it's something like an org, I can understand that. But if it's something like a personal thing, I was afraid I would just get grief, or have to put it on some planet that I don't really go to that often, because you know it's not going to be available for like Terra or Earth or some main planet. So.
Right. Well, planets like that will be places where you'll end up renting apartments or something like that. But let's put it. Think about it this way, fastcart. Have you ever tried to find somebody on a moon or a planet right now? Like really find somebody? It is no small task, right? So multiply those systems, multiply those moons and worlds. And some of the places we went to, Gigi, what was the name of that one place we went to? Was it Calhoun Point that had all the lush greenery and everything? Yeah. You could set up a base there under the trees and nobody would even know you got one there. You know, the only way you'd probably find it is by being on foot. You know, so I'm saying you're right. I agree. That's why I said when it first came out, a lot of people didn't buy them. But later on, people start saying, man, maybe it's not such a bad idea to at least have a deed. And if I want to use it, I can. I don't think it's going to be contingent upon an org. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you 100%. Orgs will be a safer, more secure way to do it. But I think that the worlds are going to be so big, you'll be able to find places to put land. And as long as you put defenses up, and they're going to let you put defenses up for it, then you'll be okay. And plus you've got it's getting UEE space. As long as it's in UEE space too, that's another factor.
That's true. But I'm not worried about someone looking for me personally, like fastcart or anything like that. I'm worried about some random person just trying to have fun, just pick up, I'll choose that one. And, you know, my stuff is gone.
Yeah, but they got to find that one is my point. And I don't think they're going to find it that easy. But we'll see, you know, in time.
They absolutely will find it.
Yeah. They may, you know, but we'll see. You know, they try to keep balance in the game so that even if someone does find it, what is the other side to me attacking this base that has nothing to do with me? Is there some repercussion for that? We'll see. We'll find out. Okay, let's jump to the last one, and this is the most recent ISC. Let's see. Von Cody says, one thing I remember reading was that that they bought land plots are just for UEE space. Yes, that's correct. Outside of that, that is correct. They are UEE certification. In fact, once you get that stake, you have to go in and register that land with the UEE that it is yours. So it's not just a matter of having the deed, but you have to find a piece of land, assume it's unoccupied, then make sure and register it, and then it goes under you, and then you get UEE protection for that land. So you're absolutely right, Vaughn. Okay, let's hit one more here, and then we're gonna jump into our last thing for the, what time is it? Oh my God, yes, time's flying by. Don't forget, guys, you all can join GoMab. GoMab is holding it down tonight as a guest with us, but you guys can come into the chat with us and share your thoughts as well about these ISCs. Let's go ahead and hit this last one. Hit this very last one.
Bringing capital ships into the universe, we knew that they would be a focal point for combat. We didn't want a solo player to be able to take these ships on by themselves. We wanted it to be a coordinated group effort.
And all these weapons coming together, all these new turrets behavior coming together, and it all works as one unit. We basically set out to create an event that felt like it came with the gravity of having the capital ships in the scene, and also create the strategy around these ships to kind of take them down as well.
To achieve that goal of combat, we took the high level and then we had to work on all the small pieces that add together. There was no one thing that made fighting capital ships be possible. It was a collaborative effort of lots of little pieces.
The main thing I wanted to do when we were bringing in capital ships was ensure that we didn't make the common mistake that a lot of games do, and that's when you bring in something big and new, that you make it overpowered.
It was about creating the balance of all these things coming together, where there was several different aspects to the battle scene itself.
Things like improving the turret behaviors, so not only did they attack fighters, but they attacked incoming missiles, which are a huge threat to capital ships.
Turrets on a capital ship will try and pick bombers as their targets over dinky little fighters, because the fighters aren't going to be nearly as much of a threat.
We worked on countermeasures to make them more reliable and also more engaging from both the defender's point of view of launching them and from the aggressor's point of dealing with them.
We put a lot of effort into making sure that we balanced the way countermeasured worked. They wouldn't spam them all the time. You now have to fire enough off to generate enough noise to hide your ship.
And we needed all the components to work to kind of bring a Xeno threat alive, which was the big capital ships. We had the Idris, we had the Javelin.
The Idris has the big railgun underneath that needed to have its behavior adjusted so that it always tried to be nose on to larger targets and not just to try and use its railgun on a Mustang. It would only pick it for the larger ships.
The Javelin is different. It wants to get within the turret range of its target.
Whilst the Idris is trying to get its nose onto the target, the Javelin is always trying to keep its side against the larger targets to deal with them.
Once we had that scene together, it was a case of how do we make this sound good? How do we make this look good? You know, and how do we kind of match those expectations that players have with the balance that we implemented? And it ended up looking really nice. We have these big capital ships just taking chunks off each other. The big thing that changes with this is how many players are in the scene at the time. It can play drastically different if there's only 5 of you or 10 of you trying to take the ship down. But then if some group decides to bring in 30 players in their team, it will play drastically different.
It sort of worked how we expected. We knew players would be trying to hijack the things and was amazed by how they did it. We'd put a few precautions in there to try and prevent that, but guys always managed to find a way.
Hearing the players go, oh, you know, I use this weapon, or I came in at this time, I use this ship at this time, and that's how we brought it down. And that's just really exciting listening to those streams. So, you know, we are watching.
There's definitely areas that we want to improve on. The AI is still not where we want it to be in terms of target selection. It does a very good job to a point, but it can still get overwhelmed at times.
You know, there's times where I was watching people play, and they would do, and basically it was impossible to shoot the Idris down, and I was like, no. And then it was good to figure out why, and then we make some changes, and then sometimes it'd swing the other way, where we had 30 people in the scene, you know, trying to bring this ship down, and it'd destroy itself in 30 seconds. And this is what's really good about having a live environment in Star Citizen, is we get to do it as we go. So we get to have the players involved, and it massively helps us as the developers. We could put this out there on a Saturday evening, and we get the players playing this, and we'll get the feedback in, and then we can look in the morning, you know, and go, right, you know, so what happened, you know, let's have a review of this.
Watching, you know, the turrets shoot down torpedoes, watching the torpedoes just smash into the side of these huge ships, and the Idris just take it. Watching it all play out has been fantastic.
We want to take capital ship fights further in the future. There's some weapon systems that those ships aren't using yet, which is their own missile and torpedo systems. We want to provide further expanded combat opportunities for these ships, both in terms of the players doing it and their threats back to you.
Capital.
Okay, for those of you who aren't up on it completely or know, you guys know that the Xeno threat is now active in the latest patch that just came out on yesterday. And so what you saw there were some of the scenes from it. It is a multi-staged event that takes place in the game. It's not just going in and shooting the Idris or shooting a javelin, but there's a constant building up to the point where I think at one point there's a javelin and sometimes up to 3 Idrises, not to mention other players that are in the game as well. This all happens out toward Mick L1 out near Jericho Station. Fastcart, I know you said you haven't had a chance to download the latest patch or get into the PTU with this yet. GoMap, have you had a chance to get in there yet?
Like I said, I played a lot in the PTU, and not it just the live just dropped, so I haven't jumped in on live. But yeah, I played it. Luckily I was able to go through all the phases before the griefers figured out that they could just pick people off as they jump from the space station to where the battle was going. So once that started happening, literally I jumped from 2 to 3 servers, and as soon as I would jump in, I was just getting destroyed no matter what ship I had. Didn't even have time to turn around and shoot back. It was like, okay, this isn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
So I logged out.
One of the things I read, Board Gamer put out a really good, I think it was Board Gamer. It's a Board Gamer, or no, I'm sorry, it was Eradicator. Eradicator put out a good video on doing the Xeno threat piece, and one of the things that he talks about is that you need to trick out your ship if you're going to go in there. For that reason, and not just the griefers, but just because of the NPCs as well. And I didn't know that. You know, I thought, you know, if you're going with some pretty decent stuff, you'll be okay. But he talked about everything leading up to it. It's kind of like a whole preparation thing of getting ready to go in there. So I'm not sure, GoMad, if you had time to do that, because I know it takes time to, you know, get your ship all together and everything. But that was one of the subjects that he had. So if you haven't had a chance, check out his video, Eradicator's video on the Xeno threat. It's pretty good. We just had Fist to Face come in, but I want to ask Gigi first. Gigi, had you seen any of the footage of any of this with Xeno? Because I know you just got your graphics card and stuff. Had you had a chance to see any of it?
No, I did not actually. No, I hadn't seen any of this, so this was new to me.
Okay. Yeah, they've gotten to the point now where, like I said, in that battle, they have one of the things they did. If you guys don't know it, most of you probably do. They had to reduce the server count because of how much stuff is going on. Normally there are 50 people in the server. It was reduced down to 40. Now, don't forget, this is for testing, and it's not the first time that they've done this where they changed the numbers and they put it back up later. But for right now, in order to get the performance that they needed, they had to reduce it down to 40. I think the Xeno threat happens roughly on an hourly basis, depending on if it's completed. And yeah, GoMap, you have 40 in the live server. I'm talking not the PTU gang. They've reduced the size in live down to 40 people while they're working through this part of the testing. So don't, you know, freak out when you say, how come we don't have more people on? That's just because of what's going on. But at the same time, some of us remember there was a time where if you brought one Starfarer into a server, it freaked the server out. And so to be at the place now where you've got 3 Idrises and a Javelin, plus players all fighting in cold combat, firing all these weapons and stuff, says that we have gone a long, long way in a fairly short amount of time. Fist to Face, you're here. Hey, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Good. Any thoughts on what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I will say they are correct on the Xeno threat mission adjusting to the players and how many players that are participating in the event. As you know, I mean, we just, me and Pops, we just finished doing the mission with it was a random group. It was about say about say 20 people, 20 to 25 people in this, and it really got hectic at the end. I mean, my frames per second started to drop, and I mean, luckily, my system kept up, but I mean, the zeal, the players, and the count of Xenos that came out, it definitely doubled from what I've seen on the PTU.
Okay.
It was fun, though.
It was fun, though. Okay. Yep. Fastcart, were you going to say something?
I forget.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't important.
Okay, cool. Let's look at the last half of this then, and we'll wrap it up.
May have brought many different game systems into development focus, but one long-discussed technology was essential to ensuring these massive behemoths wouldn't be taken down by players mere moments after they arrived. So let's take a look at how SDF shields came to be for the Idris and the Javelin before they're rolled out to all spacecraft in the coming months.
There was a lot of work that actually went into getting us to the point where we are now in terms of having impact effects that are defined by the science distance field.
SDF shields were a huge part of the whole suite needed to bring capital ship combat to fruition.
The mesh shaping tech is something that I haven't seen in any other game before.
Our previous shield technology is getting quite old now, and it had some limitations. Primarily on the setup side, you had to have duplicated data to detect the hits, and then that displayed to a completely independent bubble mesh, which had no actual relevance to gameplay. It was just purely there for visuals.
They're really limited in terms of if the wing breaks off, the mesh can't adapt to that. With SDFs, they can.
A big reason why we needed to use SDF shields as well was because we needed to support the new visual effects on the shields, so we could really communicate to the player the firepower and the impact that their firepower had on the ships. Because we changed the weapon balance, a lot of the weapons now, especially the size 9 torpedoes, offer so much more firepower than they've ever had in Star Citizen, and that massively changed the demands of the shields and what it takes to take them down.
So if you're shooting the ship with a size 1 weapon, you may only see a small little energy flare on the surface of the shield, but if you shoot it with a size 10 cannon, the impact may wrap around half of the ship.
In the old system, it would glow blue, and then it would go when the shield was down. You had no idea whether you were 99% of the shield face or you had 1. Whereas with SDF shields, we've got a lot more flexibility now in providing reads on that, and you will see that they transition through the colours as it gets closer to coming down. That gives a huge gameplay impact.
We have several techniques how to displace and sort of have the SDF control individual particles.
We started to look at using mesh-based particles, being able to actually splat the mesh particles to the shape of the ship.
And then on that mesh we can play animated textures.
We had what we call glue, so there was like a glue option to essentially make that projection. We could kind of control where that actually is offset from the ship, and we settled on the name glue.
And then we also have a volumetric component where it renders a volumetric shape which ties all of these elements together for the final effect.
We knew quite early on that we were also going to be able to use science distance fields for other types of effects, so we needed a safer type of effect, and I thought that atmospheric entry was a more safe effect.
It was the first bit of tech to use the SDF. The effects are colliding with the SDF, and it allows the fire and flames to hug the surface of the ship more realistically and much tighter.
There's quite a few things that we haven't done yet that we know we want to do. All we've got at the moment is the actual impact effects. What we actually need to do in the future is actually have the powering on and powering off states as well.
The initial release of SDF shields is just for the Idris and Javelin, and it's only really for their detection of hits and the displaying of hits.
Going forward, we plan to roll this shield tech out to the rest of the ships, and when we have most of the ships in a pretty good position, we are going to start looking at fleshing out the various types of shields, the style, the manufacturer, and the race. So Vanduul may have a completely different looking shield than the human shield.
A lot of the work that we've done for the shield SDF effects will just help us with our effects in general. There's loads of other ways we can use SDFs. There's loads of other ways that we can use lots of the individual elements that came together to make the shield effects. We could just use them generically for VFX in our game in general, and that's going to just give us that next level of quality and flexibility.
So what did we?
Okay, so what did we learn? One of the things that they mentioned is that in the next few months, this would be moved out into our ships that we have right now. It's just on the Idris and the Javelin. If you look on the roadmap, they talk about the fact that they're going to be putting in the shield emitters, which means that you'll be able to target those to knock out shields on a ship. And as you guys saw, originally there was a bubble that was there, but it was just there just to give us a impression of the ship being shielded. But now the new tech has allowed them to actually shield around the ship in sections. So even if a section of the ship falls off, then that area, the shield moves off with it, and then it conforms around whatever that broken area is or whatever. Let me go to Fist to Face, because Fist, you've been in there with this and seen the technology. How does it look to you? And evidently the shield's color changing lets you know how far you're penetrating or about ready to break through. Is that correct?
It does, yes. Unfortunately, though, I will say this from the view and angle that I generally have is I'm at a distance because I'm in a retaliator. So I'm just I'm throwing a whole bunch of torps at it and just, you know, letting them hit. But because if I try to get close like I did in the last fight, I got blown up in a saber. So I couldn't really tell, you know, how much you know, how well the shield tech is working. But I will say I do see that the color, it does change as it does get weaker. So there is that part, yes, that it is working as intended. I will say that.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Gigi, that type of combat you saw, because you said this was kind of new to you, seeing all this stuff with the big ship combat. Is that something you think you would? I know you like being a gunner, and one of the main ships that people like to go in here with is a hammerhead. Would you be willing to go into that type of battle in a ship like that?
It would depend who I was going with.
Okay.
If I were going with like just a bunch of my goofy, stupid friends, probably not, because I love them, but they're not organized enough and we would get blown out of the sky. But if I were going with people who are like, you know, dedicated and serious about it, then yeah, I probably would go out and try it out and, you know, do what I could. But I don't want to get blown up consistently because my friends are dorks.
But Gigi, imagine all the fun we would have.
I mean, it would be extra fun, but the death and the loss of ships and funds would not be worth the fun.
Yeah.
Alpha, it doesn't matter.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Fist, isn't it correct when you do die, you have to come out of, you guys usually try to base it Nick L1, right? So you can spawn right back and come back to the fight, right?
Yeah, that's basics right there. Yeah. You have to spawn there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we did it in the last thing. I mean, that's pretty much how it works.
And let me ask you a stupid question. How many times does that happen where you die and come back in on the average? Do you usually make it without dying, or do you usually maybe die once or twice in the process?
For me, I really don't, I'll be honest with you, I don't really die as much, because if I'm getting to that point, I will jump. I will quantum jump.
Okay.
So you don't really, I mean, it's the only time you really die is if you're making, you know, silly mistakes, or like if somebody else hits you. Like a lot of times you'll get, I mean, in this fight, just be prepared for everybody who wants to do this fight. Be prepared that you will, number one, you will have some griefers, and number two, you will have people who will get some crime stats or will turn red because of, you know, collateral damage.
Right.
So just be aware of that, you know.
Okay.
And you may even become red yourself.
Right. Right. By the way, a public service announcement. GoMab says that he has posted pictures of his ribs in our Discord. So if you're a member of our Discord, you can take a look at his ribs if you get time. And Tessa D, it's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Tessa.
I am going to avoid that channel for a while until that. I don't need that in my life. I'll be so jealous.
Okay.
Ribs about a week and a half back, and I did them low and slow in the oven with my own dry rub. Y'all, they were so good.
No, don't talk about it. Oh my God, don't talk about it. Okay, you guys, if you look at the screen right now, we do want to do a quick ode. This Sunday, our first Soul Citizens, when we're coming back from our break, is called Beyond Stanton. And those of you who've been to Delamar, you'll recognize that this is the restaurant, is it Le Bourdain or whatever the name of it is, in Levski. And as you guys know, in this patch, Levski was finally removed because they're working on Nyx, and we're going to end up getting another system. So we decided to put this up. And for those of us who've been around for a few years, you guys will remember that Delamar was the first, actually the first, it was basically a giant asteroid or planetoid, but it was one of the first bases that we had in the game with asteroid hangars that you could go into. And it was the first part of testing what it would be like to fly somewhere and land on an asteroid or a moon. So, just so you guys will know, I mean, other than Yella and stuff like that, you guys know what I mean. It was another base that we could go to. Some of us remember how cool it was to go down in the glass elevator and look outside and see a ship, which we thought was pretty awesome. So we're going to take our very final piece here. It's getting a little late. As you guys know, we always try to highlight some type of machinima or art that someone from our community has done. This one's been around not too long, if I'm not mistaken. You guys are familiar with Narian. He does really great videos out of Russia. And he did a video on one of my favorite cities, which is ArcCorp. And so we're going to take a quick look at that. This is really cool because you can kind of chill, but I think he gives he has a great artistic eye for seeing those things that quite often we run past all the time and don't maybe pay attention to. And then I've got one good final announcement for us before we leave. So stick around for that. Okay, here we go. That's some straight Blade Runner stuff there.
That was some good work for it. EJ, it's not going through. Just whisper me the link. I'll put it in Twitch chat for you.
Welcome to Io North Tower, Area 18's premier centre for business development. Please consult any of our associates for help or rental opportunities.
I'm Tisha Pacheco, but people call me Twitch. If you're wondering, back here it says two things to me. One, they're an adventurous spirit. Two, they got some time on their hands. Fortunately, I'm a freelance time manager. I keep people busy. So if you find yourself looking for something to occupy your time, then I know people who are hiring adventurous spirits. I got a job for you if you're looking to keep busy. Here are the details. You better memorize them fast. The message also deletes exactly a minute after you open it.
All right, that was Narian's video on ArcCorp Cinematic. Fastcart, did you stay awake? What do you think?
Yeah, I did. No, I remember watching it before. I think I've seen it recently for some reason, but I remember seeing it before, and I was communicating with Twitch chat and trying to get Jade Watson's link in Twitch chat, and I had to find the ArcCorp link to put it in Twitch chat. So yeah, I was busy doing stuff, but I enjoyed it. Someone mentioned that the music sounded like Terminator to T-1000 or Terminator 1 or Terminator 2 or I guess for T-1000. But when it started kicking in, I was like, no, it doesn't sound like Terminator. It's more like. Then I remember the Ghost in the Shell from the movie from late 90s.
Yeah.
So that's what the music to me sounds like.
Yeah, really. Go, Matt. What about you? What'd you think of it?
I think they did a really great job of telling the story with music, right? You know, deconstructed. You know, the shots were really great. They really mastered the director mode and got some really cool moving shots that I could never do. But yeah, the music really added the layer of added a visceral layer. You know, bring those emotions to it, like someone said in the chat.
Yeah, I have to wonder what accessories he's using, what mouse and everything, because his smoothness and what he does is unbelievable on all his videos. He's using some good stuff. Gigi, did you like it?
It was really very well done. Some of those, like you said, some of those shots were ridiculous, and it was very well told for being wordless. And yeah, like Gomez said, you know, the music did bring an element of emotion to it that I think would not have been there without it. So it was very atmospheric, very cinematic. Yeah, it was good.
Okay. And
I will say that they could work on their pacing a little bit, right? You know, the pacing was a little bit slow as far as storytelling, but otherwise well done.
Yeah. That would be my only critique, is that was 10 minutes and it could have been 5. You know, like you got to know when you're telling your story and when to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's very easy to kind of get caught up when you have beautiful visuals that you want to show, because you want to show them off, right? But once you stack one on top of another, you go from, like you said, 5 minutes to 7 minutes to 10 minutes. You know, it was great to see a lot of ArcCorp. You gave a lot of good angles of it, but I agree, it would have been 6 minutes, 7 minutes. I would have even 2 more minutes less would have been cool, but it was still beautiful though. Last but not least, go ahead, Fastcart. I want to get face to face.
I thought the face work was done very well too.
Yeah. Even when she does those last 2 shots at the end, you see her smile, which was really cool.
Yeah, that little smirk.
Yeah, the little smirk that she gave. Yeah. Fist, what about you? Did you dig it?
Yeah, I definitely digged it. I do know how she did some of those things. This is a she, right? I just want to make sure. I don't know.
No, Narian. I don't know if Narian's a guy or a girl. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Because you said she. Oh, I'm sorry. No, but I do know how they did some of the shots. One thing is I do, because I was doing some cinematic things and I learned some things about it in the game, where there's a setting where there's a mouse setting where it's called smoothing, and you set that up to about 50% or more, and what it does is it gives you that cinematic effect as you're panning your mouse across things. So that's a part of that. Yeah, that also too. Number 2 is that person also had a crew with them.
Oh yeah,
like a camera crew.
Definitely,
there was a camera crew with them, because a lot of those shots they were getting, those aerial shots were camera crews. But another thing too, I was gonna say, I was the one who mentioned about the Terminator thing, because when I heard that come in, that it automatically clicked in my head. Wait, that's the Terminator there.
The way that it was done made me think they're probably doing it with a gamepad, not with a mouse. I don't think you could get that level of
the smoothness,
with a mouse.
It's not. You're right, and you're right. I will say joysticks, because when we bought ours, the joysticks, that definitely is a plus. Plus, I'm going to tell you another thing too: the Tobii eye tracker.
Oh yeah.
That
definitely
will make
makes a
the
difference.
cinematic shots. I mean,
it makes a big difference.
dramatically. I mean, big difference.
Morphologist has a really good video out on that, guys. If you guys get a chance to take a look at it, where he shows that the eye tracker, beyond just using it when you're flying, but to get external shots like you mentioned and panning, it's amazing to see what he's able to do with that. So take a look at Morphologist's recent video on the Tobii eye tracker. I wanted to highlight something real quick before we go. Just a couple real quick announcements real quick. Again, March is going to be our first year anniversary, March 7th, where we started March in 2010, or not 2010, 2020. And it'll be 1 year for us. And we want to celebrate it with you guys. Hopefully we're going to have the majority of our team on board with us for a show to kind of reflect on the last year. Just so you guys will know, give a big welcome to, well, I won't even get all into that right now, because I'll wait till that day. But I do want to say something. Well, here's the deal, guys. We've got some new people who joined our cast, and they're going to be on the show over the next few weeks, and you'll get to meet them and know who they are. But I'm going to wait till they show up versus making an announcement here. But we do have some new faces that we think you guys are really going to dig. They're very cool people and been supporters of us for a while. But again, we want to reach that mark of 1,000 followers. We're at 774. We went up by 3 tonight. So if we keep going at that rate, who knows if we'll make it. But we want to get to 1,000 followers by March 7th. If we do, we're going to do a really big giveaway to somebody. Maybe we'll do a couple giveaways. I don't know. We'll have to see how things go. But we do want to do a great giveaway to you guys because you've been so supportive to us. The last thing that I want to do is, many of you weren't here when the show started, but this is our new season coming back, and we got a new theme song. And I want to recognize Fist to Face, who is in the Discord with us, and his dad, Pops in Space, who's in chat. They were generous enough and kind enough to say, Griff, you know, we do music and we'd like to do a song for you. And I was like, really? Okay. I said, well, yeah, we're going to kick off a new season this Friday. So if you guys want to work on something, blah, 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 blah. And 24 hours later, I got a brand new song. And not only was it a brand new song, it was a song that I actually really, really liked. It wasn't like he had to give me 3 or 4 versions. The one he sent was really, really great. So we want to give them a big thumbs up. In chat, y'all shout for them. I'm going to play the opening for the show. Some of you guys remember what the old opening was. We want to play it real quick so you guys can hear the music. And y'all give a shout out to Fist to Face and his dad, Pops in Space, because they did an awesome job. So check this out. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Wasn't that cool? Yes. So shout out, y'all. Y'all did a great job. We really appreciate that.
Very nice.
Awesome stuff. You gave us some funk. Y'all gave us some funk for
I was
nighttime.
thinking that, yeah. They gassed it up too.
Y'all gave us some nighttime funk for this show, so we really appreciate
my shoulders
that.
Going.
Yes, definitely.
Arsenio.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, Dark Knight, it is smooth. It's some good stuff. And even the music that you guys are hearing and playing in the background right now, the ambient music, I asked him if he could pull something like that together for us. And so the music you're hearing right now is even something that he composed, he and his dad. So shout outs to them. And again, we really appreciate you guys putting in that time and throwing something together that is meaningful to our show. We really
I wasn't
appreciate
even finished with that one, but
well,
no problem.
Well, you see, I figured out how to loop that bad fella, right? So it's
yeah, I wasn't even finished with that. I just put that one together with like
you got some time. You got if you want to do more, feel that, have at it. But right now,
I was gonna fill it out and do everything, but no problem. Okay,
that's okay. It's doing it. It's doing its job. So hey, you know, it's very cool. We appreciate it. Okay, so we're gonna get ready to duck out of here for the night. I think did he leave? No, he's still there. We're going to send a raid over to our good friend, the Astropub, to Paul Shelley, because he is up late tonight doing the Xeno. So you guys make sure when you get over there, give a shout out to Paul, the Astropub, give him a cheers, buy him a beer. Tell him the Soul Citizen said, hey, you guys be sure to come on Sunday. Our show Sunday, we have Dr. Murray, who's going to be on from Yacht Club, and we're going to be doing our show called Beyond Stanton. And we will look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks for your support as always. Don't forget to spread the word. Don't forget to follow us on, what are we on, Gigi? What are we on? I forget what we're on.
We're on Twitter and we are on Twitch.
We're on Twitter and Twitch. This is like
look below
Yep, there we are right there. That's us right there with the wrong background. Real good, Griff. Okay, that's great. All right, but anyway, you guys can follow us and we will look forward to seeing you guys hopefully on Sunday. So make sure you guys join us 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks again, Go Map, for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you. It's good to see you back hanging there out there with the Xenos. All right, and we'll see you guys real soon. Take care.
Bye,
Love,
everybody.
Bye.
love, peace, and soul. Soul, love, and peace.
Follow us.